given the ability to re-engineer bodies and brains and minds, then our imagination too is up for grabs.
The gentleman we're listening to is Yuval Harari. He is a professor of history at the Hebrew University in Jerusalem. He is not a member of the World Economic Forum. He is simply there to provide them with information. Let's listen.
So I can tell you what sapiens like us would like to do with things like bioengineering or direct brain-computer interfaces. They would like to extend their lifespans, to be more healthy, to be more beautiful, and so forth and so on. But once you change the basic parameters of the human brain and of the human mind, I have absolutely no idea what the new kinds of entities would like to do with these technologies. It's happening on three fronts. There is biological engineering, which is taking the body as we know it, as natural selection shaped it, and basically speeding up natural selection with all kinds of help from intelligent design. And we are beginning to see all kinds of interventions on the genetic level, all kinds of interventions with the growing new organs and rejuvenating organs and so forth. So this is one front, biological engineering, which is the most conservative because it still stays with the basic building blocks of organisms as we have known them for 4 billion years. Okay, so they change a few genes and you have a different brain, but it's still an organism as we've known it. The second approach is more radical, and this is to start combining organic and inorganic stuff. So direct brain-computer interfaces, replacing organic hands with bionic hands, adding to the body a second immune system, which is not organic, but an inorganic immune system, made up of millions of tiny nanorobots inside your body that diagnose cancer and eliminate all kinds of diseases and so forth. But you still, the main command and control center is still your organic brain, which is connected to all kinds of devices or computers, can serve the internet, whatever. The third and most radical way is to completely give up, completely abandon organic stuff and create completely inorganic life forms. Whether this can be done or not is an open question. The biggest open question as yet, so far, in the life sciences, is the question of consciousness. We have no idea what consciousness is, what it does, how it emerges. The common assumption is that somehow the mind, consciousness, emerges from the brain, and if we hack the brain, and if we understand how billions of neurons create subjective experiences of anger and love and pain and pleasure, then there should be no barrier for recreating these kinds of experiences based on silicon and not carbon, based on computers and not brains. But this is just, at present, it's just a dogma. We are still far from really understanding consciousness, so maybe it's not like that. And maybe we'll never be able to create non-organic life forms. But more and more scientists, serious scientists, are becoming convinced that sooner or later this will happen and we'll be able to leave behind the realm of organic compounds and create completely inorganic life forms.
I don't know how you folks feel about this. I mean, from my standpoint, who wouldn't want one of their loved ones healed? The possibility of preventing birth defects and deformities and eliminating various illnesses. That aside, I see a tremendous potential for things to go wrong here. When we move from type 1 to type 2, that's the integration of inorganic and organic. And so the blending of the human with electronics, with a variety of devices, and then being connected to the internet. So think about the type of mental issue, the mental health issues that our children face right now as a result of social media and being connected to the internet. Can you imagine that 24/7? And then let's take a look at hacking, right? So you're connected to a global internet, even if it's not something that's divisive. We can't even prevent hacking today on government systems and corporate systems. Our exposure to risk would be too great, and we have far too many vulnerabilities. What are your thoughts? What are your concerns? What do you see as positive? What do you see as negative? Here's what else stands out to me. It's extremely apparent that this cannot be left, this technology cannot be left in the hands of a centralized government or a global entity. That's why an Article 5 amendment is extremely important. Now, if you're not familiar with that, it is the break glass method within the U.S. Constitution that gives the people an opportunity to make an amendment to our Constitution. We are much further along in this process than you could imagine. You see, the way this works is we need 34 states to put together various proposed amendments, and then when we have that 34, they convene in Washington and then they discuss how they would craft these amendments. Currently, we have half the states roughly that are required to call for this convention of states and propose these amendments. In addition, there are over 5 million people that have signed the petition to call for a convention of states, of which 30% of those are Democrats. This is a bipartisan issue, and it's focused in on three major areas. One, term limits for Congress. Two, a federal balanced budget. And three, federal overreach. It's federal overreach, the reeling in of a centralized government in terms of their power and influence over our everyday lives, that directly relates to this topic of transhumanism. All one has to do is take a look at what we've experienced over the last couple of years in terms of federal overreach to understand that this type of a mechanism is necessary, especially going forward with the advances that we're seeing in technology. Do yourself and do this country a favor. Look at the information that we've put together on Article 5. It really is eye-opening. All right, I'm done with my rant. I appreciate your time, and bye for now.